Okay, we're putting these gas tanks up on here and trying to get these level through here as much as we can so the dash will fit on there. This one's high, this one's low. The other problem is when you tighten this bolt down right here on the left tank, it cocks the tank real bad, so you have this big gap in here. So even though we're hitting up here on this boss here, we got a big gap down here. I can put my whole finger in there, so it's that far off. So if you just pull the tank down and tighten it down, then the tank's going to break here on the back side. The tank's going to break away. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bend these tabs over right over here, and we'll bend it out, and that will level the tank out. So I'm going to get this tank off. We'll do that and I'll show you. Okay, I'm taking this tank off right now, and it's hard to see in here, but when you loosen it up, there's actually a gap in there between the spacer and the tank. So it's hitting on the bottom of the tank, and bracket on the frame is way too far out. There's a big gap in here between the bracket there and that spacer. So I'm going to put a washer in there. It should take care of all the caulking up this is doing. So let me get this off, I'll show you. Alright, so you can see where the tank was hitting down in here. I ground the tank a little bit. That's where the silver spot is here. But we're still hitting heavily on here. This bracket has too much of an offset to the right, so it's caulking the tank. So what I'm going to try to do, instead of bending this bracket over, I'm going to go ahead and put a washer on here. And that will make this spacer over here thicker, and that might maybe do what we need to make it work. So I'll go ahead and tighten this up and see what happens here. Okay, I got that washer stuck down in there. And now the tank is hitting against the frame down here like it's supposed to. So I took care of most of it. We do have a little bit of a gap up here. Right up here on this side, which is where it's hitting on the wiring a little bit. It still isn't squeezing in, so I'm going to go ahead and put a washer between here and this other tank. Looks to be maybe about the same problem. Just push on that side and see what it's doing. I can't tell if it's pushing in flatly or not. There's a little bit of a gap, a little bit there. So yeah, it looks like we need to put a little thin washer on the right side and a thick one on the left, about an 1/8 inch on the left side. And that should make the tanks be on the tank without being under loaded condition. Now these solid mounted tanks, if you tighten them down with a stress, they will break brackets off or break the studs out the back of the tanks here. Because if you're putting a load on these things while the bike's vibrating, the metal fatigues and it breaks the brackets off. If you bolt them on where there's no load on them, then they probably will not break. So I'm going to grab me a couple washers and have to get a longer bolt here, it looks like also. Okay, I got these thick washers that stuck in here. These are heat treated chrome washers so they won't flex. This one here took a standard wash because it's thin. This one has two big ones, one on each side on the outside. These here are the 3/8 washers here, but these are thick heat treated washers. So I'm going to put a 3/8 bolt over in here. Over here in this hole back up in here. I had to rat tail the file out the hole just slightly to make it more round. These tanks have been really cut out a lot for the for alignment before, so the hole's too damn big to use for a 5/16 bolt like it's supposed to be. So we're going to go ahead and open it up for a 3/8 bolt. So that's what this here is all about, is this one. So I'll go ahead and install this up in there and get that all situated and I'll show you. Okay, got the tanks all tightened up. So I got the washers up in here like we had before. Down here we got that 3/8 bolt stuck in there. It's all tightened up. It's really close to the heads, but it's not hitting on the head. Come on, light. So it's Got a little bit of clearance, not a lot, but a little bit. It's all in there. And we got this one, these are all tightened up in here now also. And we got this here pretty close for the going across. It's pretty level now. It's about an 1/8 inch drop from this side to this side. I had to lower this tank here down as far as it would go, and I had to, actually this one had to go all the way up, this one had to go all the way down, and that took away about half of what was here because it was twice this amount. So at least this way the dash will sit halfway close when it's on the bike. So you always got to make these things fit. And the last thing you got to do is make sure you got clearances up under here to the bottom of the tanks. Make sure there's clearances up in there. You can see how tight they are up in there. Pretty snug. And of course our air cleaner gap right here is pretty close. When I put the cover on here, we'll see what that's sitting at, but it's going to be close too, I'm sure. And all of this stuff's got to be checked to make sure things work. Now, got to put the gas line on here. I already got the crossover tube up under here now. So I got to figure out how I want to route this. I can either squeeze it through here or go around the front. Now if you go behind here, you get a lot of motor heat up in here. And with these tanks here, it'd be a very tight fit, and you might actually cut the hose in half a little bit up on top there. You have to have a pretty good bow in it. Obviously, if you go across the rocker box, you're going to burn the line. So I usually like going to the outside here and just kind of let them hang out here in the air. It's not as pretty, but it's safer, and it's a lot better for the gas because it's cool. Sometimes you got to bend these fittings here in the tank a little bit to make them shoot more straight ahead. And this one over here was pretty far in. See right here, this one's been bent. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a little bit of a tug and see if it moves, because it's going in the wrong direction. It needs to be going out toward this way. So we'll just put a crescent wrench on there and give it a little bit of a twist, and more likely it's going to chip the paint a little bit. But better to chip the paint a little bit than not have it fit correctly. So we'll play with that a little bit here. Okay, we're fitting this line right now. So I got this straightened out a little bit. Now you can use wrenches like this to put pressure on these things and bend them like this, but you gotta be careful because that tends to crimp the tubing. I use that where I have to, but where I can use a big crescent wrench like this 12-incher here, I like using these. And we just kind of put them on here a little bit, and you just kind of see how they just kind of move them around a little bit. Spin them nice and slow. And get it where it lines up where you want it to go to. That one there, I might have went just a little bit further than I needed to go. It's okay though. Yeah, just a little bit too far. Kick it back just a little. And it doesn't look like we cracked any of the paint either. So we get that hose hooked up on there, we'll see what it looks like. Okay, I got this hose mounted up on here now. I had to bring this down a little bit further and out to clear the cable here. Originally I was going to have it up here like that, but it wants to sit down here, so we'll let it sit on the bottom. Looks a little cleaner that way anyway. I had to bend this one down just a tick further to get it where I want to. And the throttle cable here, we'll have it on the outside so it's not rubbing up here on the motor and cooking all the grease out of the cable. So that should be good on that. This can probably be bent down just a little bit further, but it should be alright. Once this hose takes a set to it, it'll stay where it wants to be. And it's pretty much away from all the heat, so that's a good place to have it. So that's how you do that. Keeps it nice and clean. Alright, so now we can go up here and work on the dash, I guess. Get this cover up on here and see how all this stuff fits. Okay, I got the dash mounted. Can't put this strip in here because I'm missing one of the hold down pieces. But dash all works. Ignition switch works nice and free, just like it's supposed to. So it all works good. Got the battery box all mounted up in here, all the covers and stuff. Got the battery fully mounted. Real tricky getting it down inside of here. got that all in there. Rebent the strap around a little bit so that it comes up nice and tight. So everything's good and tight here. Don't have anything loose floating around. So getting closer and closer. So I got the fuel line put up under here. I don't know exactly like how this goes, but that's what they had on it for now, so we'll leave it. And so looks like about now I gotta get the exhaust down there. I gotta time it. Gotta put new plug wires on it. And that's about it. Right, light it off. So keep plugging along.